she was accused of rape, and then she allegedly admitted she's pregnant with a former student's baby. Now, this ex-elementary school teacher is slammed with nearly 24 charges in a new indictment. Prosecutors say she sexually assaulted as many as 21 children.
There's nothing in this that would resonate with a juror other than they would be disgusted and horrified by this woman.
It's a story we've been following since the start of the 2023 school year, when 38-year-old Alissa McCommon was arrested for the first time. That was on September 8th in Covington, Tennessee, about an hour northeast of Memphis. Police there began an investigation into McCommon, a now former elementary school teacher, after receiving a tip about an inappropriate relationship with a former student. Officials say McCommon started talking to students outside of the classroom by playing video games with the children before switching communication to social media apps. After that, police say McCommon sent explicit photos before requesting sexual relations with the victims. Initially, McCommon was charged with rape and booked into the Tipton County Jail, but shortly released on $25,000 bond. We reported on McCommon's case again after her second arrest on September 28th. She was taken into custody that time after allegedly violating a no-contact order and reaching out to a victim. At the court appearance for those charges, prosecutors played snippets of a voicemail McCommon made while out on bail, allegedly confessing she was pregnant with the boy's baby.
I will never text you again. You will never hear from me again. Just please don't say anything. I'm under so much stress and I'm so scared all the time. I'm trying to tell you when it comes out. I'm looking like you. We don't have to talk anymore. Just please, God, tell me you're not going to say anything. I'll never speak to you again.
Fast forward to this week when McCommon was indicted on 23 counts of sexual misconduct against minors. Her charges include rape of a child, 5 counts aggravated statutory rape, 4 counts of sexual exploitation by electronic means, 4 counts of solicitation of a minor to commit aggravated statutory rape, 2 counts of statutory rape by an authority figure, 2 counts of coercion of a witness, and 2 counts of aggravated stalking, violation of the Child Protective Act, tampering with evidence, and harassment.
It's a real anomaly, at least from what I've seen in these kinds of cases.
According to trial attorney Anne Bremner, the sheer number of indictments against McCommon is staggering.
And it's pretty unusual to see women being predators to this extent with this many victims.
The indictments come 6 months after McCommon's original arrest. We're seeing nearly 24 indictments.
Right.
Why would an investigation like this take so long?
Well, I mean, we see that victims are reluctant to come forward no matter what their age. And then you're dealing with, younger, underage juveniles. They're not going to tell their parents a lot of the time. And it takes a long time to figure out the breadth of what she's been doing, which is pretty astonishing. That you started with the one young man, and then, of course, it goes on from there.
And I know in the past, at least what prosecutors say, is that she communicated with former students via Snapchat or social media. Would that be a large part of the investigation, that people are actually combing through her past conversations to find incriminating information?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about it, I think, I had the Mary Kay Letourneau case here in Seattle, which was kind of the first of, a female teacher with a male student, and it made international news. Back then, we didn't have Snapchat, email, text, etc. But she was pretty prolific in communicating with her intended victim and other kids, because she'd be like this woman, like, let's play video games, come over to my house, like basically befriending these kids as if she's in their same age group. So there's going to be potentially a lot of evidence written, in terms of Snapchat and everything else. But and it sounds like she said some horribly incriminating things, including with the young man saying that who's underage, that she was pregnant with his child.
In 1997, 6th grade teacher Mary Kay Letourneau was arrested and charged with 2 counts of second-degree rape. The story captivated the nation as Letourneau eventually had 2 children with her former student, Vili Falau. The pair got married after she served prison time and spent more than 2 decades together. Bremner says she sees serious parallels between Letourneau's case and McCommon's.
And they're almost identical to what happened with Mary Kay Letourneau. Mary got pregnant with Vili's child. She got a plea deal, what's called a SOSA. It's a sexual offender alternative sentence, where she could have treatment and only be sentenced to about a month in jail. And she did that. But when she was released, on conditions just like this defendant. She immediately contacted Billy. She was caught in a car with steamed up windows, passport, baby clothes, Nordstrom bags, and she was pregnant again. And of course, that's when she went to prison for 7 years. So she was not to contact him, which she immediately did. And then, of course, she was caught in a way that there was no turning back. She had to go to prison. So her SOSA was revoked, and she went to prison for a straight 7 years. No good time, no nothing. And then she got out, and there was no contact order, and they had it lifted, mutually agreed, lifting the order, and they got married.
In McCommon's case, an order has not been lifted, but she allegedly reached out to a victim anyway. Investigators with the Covington Police Department say that after her initial release, McCommon used a previously unknown phone number to contact one of the victims. They also say she used a code word with the child that the pair used to use to signal that the boy was alone. In the past, she'd allegedly used that same word before sending him nude photos via Snapchat. Among the messages, investigators say McCommon allegedly admitted to the sexual interaction. She also told the boy he'd, quote, regret doing this, meaning contacting the authorities. Is there any reason, in your opinion, that Mary Kay Letourneau would go back to this child, or same with Alissa McCommon in this case? Even though they've been arrested, they're told no contact. Why would they go back and have contact again?
She really felt like it wasn't a criminal matter. It was, I'm just quoting her. She didn't think it was a criminal matter. She thought it was more of a moral lapse and an issue with respect to her job as a teacher. She taught 6th grade. And, she said this was a love affair for the ages. And she said that Billy was the smartest person in the world. She was second smartest. I mean, we used to say it's like, there's something about Mary, it's the world Letourneau's in Summer of 42. It had a lot of that. This case really doesn't, because you've got other victims, and it doesn't sound like Mary's case in terms of Mary's belief that this was a love story, which it turned out to be, even though she served time. And it's completely criminal what she did. I'm not in any way condoning it, but they did get married. And I don't see exactly that element with this particular defendant, but I'm not sure if she's talking about this as a love thing, or is she basically, having sex with this boy and with others, and then guilt tripping him, about the pregnancy, but not talking about the forever piece of the relationship, which is what Mary did, which is very strange.
So I'm also wondering about her pregnancy, whether that would play a role in all of this, because if she is pregnant with this boy's child, I mean, if we do the testing, DNA, whatever, and find out, I mean, that confirms that they did have sex. Is that possible that they would test this child for the paternity?
Absolutely, because that's part of the proof. That wasn't done in Mary's case because nobody denied. The thing is, the reason Mary got arrested is because there were love letters between them that a family member found. And so when it came up on the screen in the TVs in Seattle, this angelic looking woman writing love letters to a 12-year-old. She was pregnant when he was 13, not that it makes a difference. But so that this was kind of this whole, piece where the two of them never, Billy, when he was contacted by the police, said it happened and it was consensual. He later changed his tune on that. But that's just a lot different than this case, because even though there's all this evidence she's denying it, she's going to be in a world of hurt at trial.
After McCommon's second arrest, we spoke with her then attorney, Jerry Mason. Have you spoken with McCommon? Is she pregnant?
Well, I can't confirm or deny any of that at this moment. I know basically what you guys had heard from the hearing. To my knowledge, there's no medical evidence right now that she is or isn't pregnant. That's yet to be seen.
At the time, Mason couldn't tell us whether McCommon had contact with any of her past students, but said she was shocked at the initial charges.
And I can't confirm or deny whether she had contact with them.
What was her reaction at that point when those initial charges of rape were brought on?
Oh, she was shocked. Her and her husband both were just, they acted shocked about the whole incident. She had been a teacher for years and, taught hundreds, I would suppose, maybe thousands of students. And, this is the first time something like this came up. So yeah, she was very surprised.
Since then, McCommon has switched attorneys and is now represented by Lauren Folks. We reached out to Jerry Mason to ask why he's no longer working with McCommon, and he didn't reply. At a court appearance this week, though, folks told a Tipton County judge that McCommon's pleading not guilty to her new indictments. She's pleading not guilty and saying,
Right.
I did not commit any of these crimes, a laundry list of indictments that she now faces.
Right.
I'm wondering how she would combat that with her defense.
Well, then I saw her lawyer quoted saying this was just a witch hunt on the internet. And, things are so different now from when we had Mary's case. Everything's on the internet. And, it's like they said in the Social Network movie, it's written in pen and not in pencil. It's everywhere. So I don't know how she can deny specific messages about pregnancy, about, having sex with him, things like that. I just don't know, how she gets around that. I mean, she'd be better off like Mary initially did, which was to kind of throw herself on the mercy of the court and get potential treatment.
As far as the evidence against McCommon, Bremner says it could be hard to combat in her defense. There's a lot of evidence, and so I'm thinking prosecutors must have a lot up their sleeves in order to bring all of these charges against her. Would you think that they have a strong case?
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. And, you can just see all the work they had to do to get these kids to even talk. I mean, they're not telling their parents, apparently one did, but it's not a badge of honor for these kids. In Mary's case, it kind of was. I mean, Billy bet his cousin that he could quote unquote bang his teacher, before they got involved. That case had some kind of strange aspects of a very kind of mature, then almost seventh grader. This is not that case. This is completely different. There's nothing in this that would resonate with a juror other than they would be disgusted and horrified by this woman. And especially when she's teaching, what was it, fourth grade? She's teaching fourth grade. I mean, does she have victims in that age group? She's a menace to these students. And that's what's going to be put before a jury. She's no Mary Kay Letourneau, even though there's so many parallels. There's so many differences that I don't see any kind of defense she would have.
But Bremner says McCommon's mental health status should be evaluated.
In a case like this, is there something going on with this particular defendant that would be treatable? I mean, is it something where she'd be amenable to treatment? Would she be eligible with these kinds of charges? I would think not, because just the gravity and the number of charges. But there's something going on with her. I mean, there's clearly something very, very wrong with her, but that may not carry the day in a defense, a mental defense.
Even though she's pleaded not guilty, Bremner says the case may not go to trial.
Where does this case go? If they go to trial, I would be stunned because like I mentioned, the evidence that's up against her, it'll get a lot of media attention, but it's a real anomaly, in terms of if she had sex contact with all those kids, or was it just the boy and then grooming, or I shouldn't say just, but grooming and other types of actions. We just don't know yet. But she seems pretty defiant. I mean, especially when we see that she was arrested and had conditions of release and went right back out and contacted the boy.
And more charges could be on the way. And we know that there are multiple victims or survivors in this case. Is it possible that more could come forward and additional charges could be brought against her?
Always. I mean, when you have multiple victims in a sexual assault case and then it becomes public, like this case has, many come forward after that. I've had civil cases of sexual abuse. I had one with a teacher, with a fifth grade teacher that was abusing fifth grade girls. And I had one, then I had two, then I had three, and then more. And then even years later, I had more victims come forward against this teacher.
Whatever direction McCommon's case takes, Bremner believes it's an anomaly.
What I haven't seen is that to see a woman with multiple victims. You can see the men with multiple victims. It's just what we've seen, what I know anecdotally is that doesn't happen as often. I mean, even in our special offender unit in Washington, we do civil commitments of predators, and they have to be found to be predatory and dangerous to be civilly committed. Traditionally, we've had mostly men, so it's just kind of a reality.
Right now, McCommon is still being held in the Tipton County Jail. She's due back in court in April, and her trial is set to begin on August 19th. Reporting for Law&Crime, I'm Gillespie.